Hi, welcome to my unit review of the Lich. In this video I'm going to talk about the general purpose of this unit, its pros and cons, its abilities and its stats. There's a lot to say about this unit because it's maybe one of the most versatile units the game has to offer, ranging from pure damage, support, and very interesting summoning abilities. The Lich offers a wide variety of skills, even including the ability to set everybody on fire. And yeah, we're going to get right into the abilities because the Lich is easiest to explain alongside its ability stack. I just want to talk a second about the feature skill, which just flat out increases Iratus' spell power, which is quite useful in pretty much every run because you use Iratus' spells always. So, Skill 1, Bone Shards, usable from every slot, dealing damage to a random enemy. The percentage is pretty high. There's only the downside of being random, so this skill is pretty standard and it really defines itself by its upgrades. So version 1 is giving the damage to 2 random enemies and to an ally on the first position. So this skill is needing you to bring up some certain setup because the damage is quite high. You should bring some kind of warding abilities, for example, like the Lost Soul's Dubious Boon, which will increase wards, or just units with a very high magic resistance on their own. There are options to compensate that, but to use shrapnel really effectively, you should set up your formation somehow. The other one is way more generic, keeping the same damage output but ignoring wards, also being random, and well, most of the time I end up using this skill the least. Skill number 2, Command Undead. The ally gets an insane attack and dread bonus for 2 turns and has to move 2 squares forward, changeable to ordering 2 squares backward with the same bonuses, or even more attacking dread with the same functionality as the base skill. Plus 18 or plus 14 is really a lot. The only downside, it's pretty short lasting, and the movement is not always something you can dig in. But well, this is a super useful support skill, believe me. Use it a while. Use it on your frontliners alone to just buff their damage up, and you will notice some difference. I really like this one. Next up is Sacrifice, which just flat out kills an ally and heals the Lich and its allies, which is upgradable to more vigor gain or to less vigor gain, but not spamming an action at all. This skill is something I'm going to postpone for a second because it's way better to explain that with the other skills later on. Next up is the Toxic Cloud, not usable from the last slot, which creates a cloud at a target position, dealing stress damage to any enemy that enters it. Upgradable to a loss of all armor and resistance, or a chance of instantly killing people. Immunity to bosses. Oh my, I love this skill so much. Like, the armor and resistance strip on its own is reason enough for me to use this skill even against enemies who are immune to stress damage, just to strip armor and resistance. It's wonderful. And if you want to use the stress damage component, I can only recommend skills that shuffle around the enemies, because this increases the chance of multi-triggering the cloud due to the fact that it damages people entering it. Really wonderful skill. Downside, not usable from rank 4. And if you look at this, all these skills before were usable from slot 4. And next up, Rain of Fire. It's an ultimate skill. The Lich has 2. And yeah, it ignites each and everybody except himself. And that includes allies, and well, deals a damage over time effect. Next upgrade is a Shuffle. You see, that's a synergy in between. Well, it shuffles everybody, or you can increase the damage over time portion. There are a lot of formations which practically rely on this skill alone. You can combo it up with a Blood Phantasm or other useful things. I'm going to leave the explanations to other YouTubers, which are showcasing builds around the Rain of Fire a lot. I don't want to emphasize this too much. Just look around if you want some builds with that. It's a wonderful skill if you utilize it well, because overall it's pretty easy to change it to be beneficial for you, especially when you have a Burning Skull, which would reduce the damage the Lich deals to its allies by 65%. And if you combine these, it's pretty insane. Without it, it's hard to compensate the amount of damage, just what to say. Last skill, Reanimate. It summons a skeleton, so there's a little buff increase on the summoned minion just to make it competitive, upgradable to less wrath cost or a bigger stat increase. And this is where it really starts to shine, and it's the time to talk about sacrifice, which kills an ally. So the Lich can just finish off allies which get killed pretty soon and produce some healing buff for the whole team, and can reanimate the empty slot with a new unit, which can be again used for sacrificial purposes, for the target of the shrapnel, or whatever. This makes formations including a Lich terribly hard to kill, because there's always room for some reinforcements when you run a Lich, and while a skeleton might not be much, it's a very resilient and multifunctional unit which can serve a lot of purposes. So overall, the Lich's skill set is very, very versatile in my own opinion. And well, the Reanimate is not usable from the last slot, making only these two skills incompatible to slot 4, making the Lich home everywhere. Like, you basically want to use him in the backline most of the time, but he works pretty well in the front line. If you don't want to use Rain of Fire, for example, pretty much every other skill works from these ranks. And next up, I want to talk about the stats. As we've seen, Attack and Dread are both stats the Lich likes to use, so you have 7 increases on those, 5 increases on the Vigor, only the mediocre field on the Initiative as well. Same goes for Accuracy, but the base stat is quite high. And Luck, Evasion, and are also on 5 increases. And Block and Ward are increasable 3 times, which doesn't sound much, but remember, each point here is a completely blocked attack. So in the stats, the versatility reflects again. There's a lot of space open. You can do pretty much everything except for flat out resistances on this guy. And yeah, so to sum it up, I love the Lich. It's at the first glance, I was a little bit concerned about the amount of damage he can inflict to its own team, but when you don't use Rain of Fire, there's still a lot of useful things to do with this guy, and I hope this video helped you a little bit to find maybe some new uses, or just drop me down a comment down below to tell me what you do with this guy, or what do you think about him, or how does your Rain of Fire combo work, or whatever. I appreciate any input. Also, I appreciate any form of support on this video, be that a like, a share with your friends, or even a subscription to my channel to make me super happy. Do whatever feels great for you. I hope you enjoyed this unit review, and there are a few others out there from me as well, so go check these out or come back for the next episode as well, and see you.